My family had one rule that never made sense. Until I turned 18. Growing up, my family had one rule. No birthdays. Not mine. Not my siblings. Not even my parents. We never had parties. Never blew out candles. Never exchanged gifts. Every year, my birthday came and went like it was just another Tuesday. Whenever I asked why, my mom would smile and say, "Some traditions don't need explaining." My dad would always change the subject. At school, it was embarrassing. Friends would ask what I got for my birthday, and I'd make something up because admitting we'd never celebrated felt weird. As I got older, I stopped asking, until my 18th birthday. That morning, I walked downstairs expecting the usual silence. Instead, the entire house was decorated. There were balloons, flowers, a massive cake sitting on the dining table. For a second, I genuinely thought I'd walked into the wrong house. Then I noticed my whole family standing there, not smiling, crying. My grandmother stepped forward, carrying a small wooden box I'd never seen before. She placed it in my hands and whispered, "You're finally old enough to know." Inside was a faded photograph of a little girl who looked exactly like me. Same eyes, same smile, same birthmark on her neck. Except the photo was dated 18 years before I was born. I looked up, completely confused. My mom took a deep breath and said, "She was your sister." I froze. I had a sister? No one answered right away. Finally, my dad nodded. "She died on her 18th birthday." The room went silent. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear. Mom explained that after losing her, the family couldn't bear celebrating birthdays anymore. Every candle, every cake, every song reminded them of the day they lost her. So they made one rule: no birthdays, ever again, until someone in the family turned 18, because they believed that if another child made it to the age she never got to reach beyond, it wouldn't be a reminder of death anymore. It would be proof that life had continued. I stared back at the photo, then at my family, and suddenly, every birthday I'd spent wondering why no one cared made perfect sense. But there was one thing that still didn't. As I looked closer at the photograph, I noticed something scribbled on the back in faded ink. "Don't tell her what really happened." I slowly looked up at my parents. "What does that mean?" Neither of them answered, and that's when I realized maybe my sister's death wasn't the whole story. My family had one rule that never made sense. Until I turned 18, final part. The room fell silent. I held the photograph in one hand and the note in the other. "Don't tell her what really happened." I looked at my parents. "What does this mean?" My mom burst into tears. My dad closed his eyes like he'd spent 18 years dreading this exact moment. Finally, he spoke. "Your sister didn't die in an accident." My stomach dropped. Then, how did she die? My grandmother sat beside me and gently took the photograph. It was someone we trusted. She explained that my sister, Lily, had gone to celebrate her 18th birthday with a close family friend. They treated him like an uncle. He'd known my parents since they were teenagers. She never came home. The police searched for weeks before finding her. The investigation was mishandled from the start. Evidence disappeared. Witnesses changed their stories. In the end, there wasn't enough proof to convict anyone. The man walked free. My mother looked at me with tears streaming down her face. We couldn't survive hearing people sing happy birthday after that. So we stopped celebrating. No birthdays, no cakes, no candles. It was the only way we knew how to keep breathing. I didn't know what to say. Everything I'd spent my childhood resenting. The forgotten birthdays, the empty dining table, the silence every year. None of it was because they didn't love me. It was because they were broken. Then my grandmother handed me a second envelope. "I think it's time." Inside was a letter addressed to me. Except, It wasn't written by my parents. It was written by Lily. The date at the top was 1 week before her 18th birthday. My hands shook as I unfolded it. If you're reading this, then somehow life kept going without me. I don't know who you are yet, but I hope you're stubborn. I hope you laugh too loudly. I hope you chase every dream you're scared of. Most of all, I hope they don't stop living because of me. By the time I reached the last line, I couldn't see through my tears. Promise me you'll give them a reason to celebrate again. I looked around the room. My parents were crying. My grandmother was crying. Even my tough, quiet grandfather had tears rolling down his face. I walked over to the birthday cake. For 18 years, no one had touched one. I picked up the knife. I think Lily would have been angry if we kept hiding from this forever. My mom nodded through her tears. Together, for the first time in nearly 2 decades, we sang Happy Birthday, not because we had forgotten Lily, but because we finally remembered how much she wanted us to keep living. As we cut the cake, I noticed one last thing tucked inside the envelope, a small newspaper clipping. The headline read, "Case reopened after new DNA evidence." I looked at my dad. He smiled for the first time that night. They finally caught him. For the first time in 18 years, justice arrived, and so did our birthdays.